Hey, this is Autumn, and this is Just a Thought. What's up? Welcome back. It's been a week already, and it's just the start of the week, but my week is about to get better. And your week is about to get better because you're going to enjoy this conversation with my dear friend, Matt Ford. I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to this all day. I'm not going to lie. So this is the best part of my day. But before we get started, I'm going to obviously, per usual, read his bio so that you understand why he is so amazing and why he is so well versed to just bring all of the goodness, the rich goodness that he's about to drop because of what I'm about to tell you. So, Matt Ford, I should have drum rolled that so that it was kind of like a, yeah, right? Like, so it was kind of like a, anticipation thing. Matt Ford is an insightful communicator, an Emmy-winning former news producer and current news anchor for DETV, which is the first Delaware-based news program in over a decade. My dude is like doing all the things, okay? All the things. He is also an adjunct professor at Delaware Technical Community College, teaching human communications and sociology. I told you, he is perfect for this conversation that we're about to have. Off camera, he's a passionate stage actor. I have seen him. He is amazing. I can vouch for that. And an advocate for the arts, stroke survivors, and caregivers. And more than that, he is just an incredible human being, just one of the kindest, gentlest, sweetest, most loving people that I know. I enjoy all of my time with him. What's up, my friend?
Well, you just did it all. Have a great day. We'll see you later. That was perfect.
He said I got nothing left. That's it. It's over. It's over. I've said all the things.
Right.
Hi, I'm so excited you're here.
I am honored to be on here. Can I tell you, I have watched every episode, and you, my friend, are killing it. You're killing it.
See, okay, what people don't know is that that's why I have my friends on here so that they could just hype me every episode.
We're doing it. We're doing it. I'm just glad I didn't have to follow Romeo Dennis Spence.
Oh God, yeah. There's a little bit of space between you and him, but
Yeah, I'm glad that's a tough act to follow.
But Dennis set it off. I mean, he came in here and just immediately killed it. But quite honestly, I feel like everyone has uniquely brought so much to each episode. I mean, even just for me, like I know all of you, but I'm like, do I know you? Like, who is this person? You've been holding out because you in here saying all the stuff. So
Right.
this has been a really incredible experience just for me, right? I'm like, even if no one else watches these episodes, I enjoy just sharing time and space and hearing amazing perspective and wisdom and thoughts from some really incredible people. So I am so thrilled and excited and honored to have you. And I am really looking forward to hearing all the things that you have to say about this timely topic.
I got lots of thoughts.
I know you. I'm sure you do. That's why you're here. So, what I wanted to kind of talk to you about is obviously your background is in media and in presenting the news. You're teaching communication, and we're in a time where communication is like rough for a lot of reasons. It's rough between just like one-on-one people having just conversation, but also with the media and with social media and algorithms and information that's out there, some of it true, not true, people checking, not checking, just all these things. And so it's becoming really hard. Like I was in preparation, sorry, I'm going to get off on a tangent for just a second. I'm getting ready to show my age, that I was thinking about when I was a kid and just like how we got information. And it was very much like you had to go to the library, you had to read books, you had to read the encyclopedia, you had to, right? Like information was very focused and sort of, here, obviously I wasn't born in 1872 where there was like no news.
Stone Ages.
But even news anchors and things like that, it just seemed to be a different kind of focus, right? And so to that point, I really want to start this off by saying, what level of responsibility do you believe that those who are presenting the news, what responsibility do they have? Is this more of, let me give you the facts, or is this about ratings and entertainment and you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
what's the focus there?
So I think a lot of times, or like we hear, like, like, is today's media, is it helping or hurting?
Right.
Right. So, like, I think it can do both, and it's a really delicate balance. So I think that media can amplify the truth, or it can drown it in all the
Mm.
distraction that we have around us,
Right.
is
Right.
kind of how I feel about it. So I mean, like, I think the access that we have is good to it. I think that, I left the industry for 5 years before I started back at DETV,
Oh, I
because
didn't know
it was moving from, I grew up, like you were kind of saying, like, I would eat dinner and then watch the news
that.
afterwards. Like, that's how you grew up with your family. Like,
Right.
my mom and my
Right.
grandfather was with us after dinner. You kind of, it's what you did.
Yeah.
And then we moved away from it, and then all this social media stuff, and I was like, no, this is too fragmented and it's too slanted, and you
Yeah.
can't even watch national news now. So you still can't, because there's every, I don't care who says that they're not biased or slanted, everyone
Oh, it
is.
absolutely is. It
If you
absolutely
find someone
is.
that says I'm not biased, send them to me. I'm going to call them a liar, because they're lying. But it's hard, and it's really hard to stay neutral and not biased, and to weed out the noise.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think, and that's I guess that's the question, right? Because I've thought about, like, how would I like my news presented to me? And because we're all human, so we all have our own interpretation of events and things that are going on. Um, is the news their responsibility to literally, because I mean, I get it that it would probably be pretty dry, but the news to say, hey, listen, this thing happened today, and just like sort of let that be that. What you obviously find is, this thing happened today, and then let me tell you
Mhm.
how to interpret it. Let me tell you how to feel about it. Let me tell you how this fits into other pictures. But if you are, I'm a person that really, really loves and enjoys and taking perspectives, because you don't realize until you step into another person's shoes how real and valid that perspective is, and how completely different it can be from yours, from a different side of a argument or situation. So that's something that I think I just sort of naturally do, but I don't think that people do. And so, knowing that, does that news anchor, that news organization, have a responsibility to sort of do it for them? If
Yeah,
that
I mean,
makes
like,
sense. Like, you know,
I mean, I think I always took it, like, ever from, classes to, like, doing it into practice, which is so different.
mm,
Like, I do think we have a responsibility to be accurate and to tell the truth, as boring as that may be. But do I jazz it up a little bit to make sure you listen? I was always taught to talk to, like, the mom who's making dinner, and, like, what can I say to get her to turn away from the stove and be like, oh, I should pay attention to this, because there's
okay,
distractions, and to take her mind off. Whoa. And if I'm just saying something just factual,
yeah,
it's not as insightful. So you have to, like, juice it up. I hate to say sensationalize it, but do that to the point where,
yeah,
like, I can take your attention for the 7, 8, 15 seconds I need your attention to tell you this important thing.
right.
But I really try, and I feel like I'm in the minority here. I'm not trying to tell you how to think or influence you in a certain way. I want to educate you. I don't want to inform you. I don't want to influence you.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. That is hugely important. Here's a question that I've always had, and maybe you can answer it for me. Is there some regulatory, um, you know, act, law, whatever, that requires, because you talked about that there is a need to be accurate.
Right.
Is that just good practice that says that we need to be fact checking and all these things before we present things? Or is there some sort of governing body that says, if you present information, if you're saying that you are the news and you're presenting information that is propaganda or not accurate or whatever, that this violates something?
Right.
Is that
I mean, if there is one now, I don't know about it. I feel like maybe in the past,
Listen, I may
but
be totally
now,
wrong.
yeah.
I'm kidding.
But now, listen, Autumn, like now, like the people that hold you accountable are the public, and
Right.
they're the toughest regulators you could
Yeah.
ever have.
Right.
Because if
Right.
you're not saying like if you misspeak about something even accidentally, you don't
You
get the
gonna hear
benefit of the doubt anymore. You know what I mean? Because you're on X or Twitter or Blue Sky or Facebook, or somebody's
right.
calling you out or making a TikTok about it and making you into a joke.
Right.
That's not what you want.
Well, to that point, it's like the people who don't agree with you, because the people who agree with you are fine with whatever you're saying, even if what you're saying is not accurate.
Right, right.
But those who are against you are like, watching you like a hawk.
Right. And
Uh,
I welcome that for those who disagree. I mean,
yeah.
listen, so we're a statewide news program that airs in all three counties. And I mean, it's almost like here in Delaware, we're actually three separate states.
Oh my
We
gosh.
talk about that all the time,
Right.
right?
Right.
And we're very Wilmington based and Newcastle County based. So we'll get a lot of Kent and Sussex folks that don't agree with what we're saying or don't agree with what we're reporting, or we're not reporting enough on this topic or that topic. So I try to be mindful of that. And I actually enjoy engaging with the conversation about them. I'm not trying to sway the way they think, but I want to be like, hey, we're just presenting this as unbiasedly, is that a word? Unbiased as we
Yes,
can.
ma'am.
So that's kind of how, but there's I personally like to challenge the keyboard warriors. I won't lie.
Oh, you better than me. I'm gonna tell you what. I try my best. It's getting harder and harder, but I try my best to be like, let me just scroll, because I'm not gonna change your mind, right?
Right.
This is a useless, just waste of your time, my time. I'm not gonna change. You're not gonna change. This is gonna turn into an online battle, and who needs it? But what I have started doing is I've started fact checking. So one of the things that I absolutely hate is these memes that people will post, and they have not checked any of the facts
Right.
in the meme,
Right.
right? And I'm like, if you had done even one Google search, like
Right.
even one, you would have seen like half of the stuff, if not all of the stuff that's on here is
Right.
absolutely not true.
Right.
So like either you are trying to be funny, or like you're like extremely late. Like I don't even understand this. So I have unfortunately gotten to where I am doing that. But to that point, because some of that stuff, and I get it, can look really credible. Thoughts on how a person can navigate, is this truth? Is this not? Because there really truly is a lot of information that is being thrust at people.
So listen, I'm not trying to get sued here, but we there is one media outlet in Delaware that has more followers than all the rest of us combined.
Okay.
And a lot of times it's not accurate. If you're watching this and you watch it, what I'm talking about.
Okay, we're
Yeah.
going to go
Right. But and it's difficult because there's so many, they have such
yeah,
a following
right,
where a lot of people don't challenge it. And then
right.
when they do challenge this media outlet, the person that runs this media outlet, who is sort of unknown, blocks
Mm.
them. They
What?
don't want to hear it.
That just feels crazy.
So right.
That in
So
itself is a red flag. I mean,
right,
don't
yeah.
have a question. That's yeah.
Right. So, it goes exactly to what you were saying. Like if it feeds into what you already believe in or what you want to hear and it validates what you're already thinking, then you're
Yeah.
going to be like, yeah, that's what I want. Like that's what I want to
Right.
hear.
Right.
So that's a challenge because if you're sensationalizing it, it's sexy, it's cool, it's what you
Right.
want to hear.
Right.
And we're in this culture now where you need to, and we have been for years, where where you need to be the first one to report it. Who
Good.
cares? Who cares about accuracy?
Right.
Because if
Right.
you're spending the time fact checking it, you're the eighth, ninth, 10th media outlet to report it. No one cares at that point.
Right.
So
Right.
it's getting it out is like more important than getting it right, which is scary.
So okay. So to that point, that's actually a really good segue. You then is what I'm hearing you saying, that being popular or ratings and entertaining, that is more important than um sort of the responsibility to the truth, like, because it's like, what is the truth for?
Right.
I think that that's what it really gets down to, right? So it's more than a responsibility for the truth. It's like, what do people get to do with the truth? People
Right.
get to decide how they want to vote. People get to decide how they want to live their lives. What matters to them, what doesn't, how things are, like, there's, the truth is a thing in and of itself, but it's like, what can you do with it? And so it sounds like you're saying, like, people are getting to decide, my reality for their rating. I mean, not to
Right.
be
And it's true because it's so, like, like traditional news media is dying, or you can say it's dead. You
yeah,
can say it's dead. So, people need to be able to grab your attention, and they're not going to get these people to back you, whether it's sponsorships or advertisements, through like boring truth, because nobody's going to watch that.
really true.
It's right. So you kind of have to find a way to jazz it up, and it's hard, man.
Who wants these stale?
Right, exactly. It's people want this on fire, and it's like
Yeah,
you can't turn away from the car crash, even, what I mean, there's you just
I
can't do
hate
it,
it.
whatever. Yeah.
So
It's
that makes it hard. Oh, is there, without you, and I don't even mean locally, right? So we don't have to talk about
mhm.
local because I don't
Yeah.
want you to be sued. Um,
Thank you.
or blacklisted or whatever any of those things. Um, are there credible sources or that are out that you feel like that are
Yeah.
there that you'd be like, okay, listen, they're bringing the new, or this, you can trust this entity, or they're, you know what I mean? Like, how do
Yeah.
you know?
So when I took my first journalism class at UD,
Mhm.
I love this because there was no textbook, and the required readings were a subscription to the Wall Street Journal and a subscription to the New York Times,
Okay.
who like try to be center, but one's a little more right and one's a little bit more left. They
Okay.
try to be, so,
Right.
and it was up to us to decipher where the truth was. If they were reporting on the same story,
Right.
we would talk about that in class, and I started to do that with my students too. I don't make it required reading, although I should. But I'll show them two news articles about the same thing, and be
Yeah.
like, Fox is saying one, CNN is saying another. It's the same
Right.
topic. Like,
Right.
which one are you going to look at or believe in, and
Right.
why? And then where we have to find like the granular truth in there somewhere,
Mm.
because they're both slanted.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I
So
like that. I like that.
So yeah, that's kind of what I don't think there's I mean, some people say like the BBC. I don't.
I was just okay. So that's what I was just getting ready to say. I feel like watching American news from a foreign country tends to
Yeah.
be, because they're like, what do we like?
Right. Can I tell you that a year and a half ago, I went, me and my partner went to Australia
Okay.
for like 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and first time there. And we literally got out of the airport and got an Uber. And the first thing that guy said, he was like, it was like, I think Trump had announced that he was going to run again a second time,
Okay.
or something like that.
Okay.
And it was all the news over there. And he was
Oh
like,
yeah.
did you hear about this? And like, I didn't even hear about it yet. And he did. He was like our cab driver. I was going to try to give you an Aussie accent, but it would be embarrassing. So
You tried, because that would have been epic.
I was like, what do you guys think about us? He goes, oh, mate, you guys are just entertaining. We think your whole life in America is entertaining. Entertaining as in you guys are a joke.
You're well,
And he's
yeah,
not wrong. I mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but
We
I
are,
was like,
we are
man,
off
like,
the rails.
it's like, yeah, he like we are what we're living through in America, no matter what your political view
Yeah,
is,
off the rails.
they view us like they're like
We're
it's
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. And I'm like, wow, like I don't at first it's funny, and then you're like, oh, I don't think that, like, it's kind of that's not
yeah,
funny.
exactly. Exactly.
Right.
Well, okay, so to that point too, I was in London the first time he ran. And again, same, they have very strong opinions. But what I learned about that was that they were far more versed on America, American politics, American current events than people that are here. And
I agree with that.
I'm very political and government, like all the things, right? So I enjoy those kind of conversations. So I'm always like, what's going on? What's up? This and that and the other. But
Right.
a lot of people don't know who their local reps are. They don't know just like anything that's like happening locally around them at all.
Yeah.
And so I thought that that was really interesting that they are so engaged and knowledgeable and all those different things. And so to that point, obviously they invest a lot of time, effort, and energy into thinking about it and like researching and doing all the things.
Right.
Is that I've had the tendency to watch more news that was coming from outside of the US.
So let me ask you this. Sorry,
Mhm.
this is your show and I'm interviewing you now. Is
No,
that weird?
no, please. I mean,
did,
that's a change.
did you
Prosper.
find when you were in London? Because, okay, I think it's super weird that we as Americans are obsessed with the royal family. That to me is so weird. Do you find it's the same obsession over there about us?
No. I think that there is I think that the US tends to lead in a lot of ways, like culturally, like social, like pop culture and things like that. Like
Trends and
movies,
things?
trends, music, things like that.
Yeah.
Like I think that we tend to lead in that way a lot, but I don't think that people are like over there going, "Oh my gosh, you're president." You know what I mean? Like I
What's
don't.
Melania wearing?
Yeah,
Right.
I don't. I haven't heard that. Right?
Right.
Like
Yeah, okay.
I don't,
That's not what they're talking about over
I
their
don't
fish
think
and
so.
chips.
I could have missed that conversation, but I don't think so. I think that they are. I think they're very intrigued
Yeah.
by how we view the world and things like that, right? And other places in the world, they seem to be more community driven. We're very individualistic, and I think that people look at that and find that very weird and sort of awkward and like, what is that? And I mean, but we're also, a very capitalist society, which drives individualism. So when I was in London, like I had a lot of questions about that. And
Interesting.
why are you guys like, why is your food piled to the moon? And why are you so like it was, but they were all very centered around it.
Yeah.
Just feels like you guys are very over the top and sort of like gluttonous about everything that you do. And
That's
why is
fair.
that? And I was like, I mean,
I don't
you're not wrong. Like,
know.
so that part was interesting. But yeah, so I tend to do that, like circling back. I tend to do that as far as the news is concerned, like look on the outside. But to your point, which I think is really good and it's like difficult and uncomfortable for people to do, is to watch news or information that is completely opposite
I
of
think that's
how
important though, right?
oh, 100%. 100%.
Because
I
I
mean,
like I want my views challenged
right. Well, that's a
to
mind
to some extent.
that's a mind shift. Most people do not want their views challenged.
Yeah, right.
Confirmed,
Yeah,
not challenged.
right. Yeah. And so you talked about something that was really important. So most people know, like you and I met through a leadership program a few years ago, right?
Mhm.
And where we went in pretty knowledgeable about the world around us locally and nationally and globally, right? But it shocks me. I have family members who don't know who their rep is,
Oh yeah.
things like that. And I'm like, they don't realize this is a bad example, but usually, like national politics, again, this is a bad example, don't really affect you and I on an individual level.
100%.
Okay. So,
But
and
your local, 1,000%.
right. But
Yeah.
then you're not even going to vote,
Yeah.
not you, but
Yeah.
this person, isn't going to vote in the off presidential years because it doesn't matter. That's what
Right.
matters more.
Right. Right. But again, like to that point, I don't know how much of that is being communicated.
Right.
So
Exactly.
when you talk about the responsibility of media, we see a lot of cover. And I'm not saying that we don't hear about local things, but you hear so much about what's happening nationally, which is
Right.
not wrong. But how many people are like, "Hey, get out and vote for your state rep today."
Right. And
A
I
lot
can,
of people don't even know that they have state reps and senators. Quite honestly, they
right.
know that they have like federal,
Right.
but they don't know that they have state reps and senators. And they're like, "What? Wait, my state has a
Right.
Senate House too? Yeah, yeah, it does. It
Right.
does.
And
Vote
even on
for
like
it."
our local, even on like our local show, I find it difficult to educate and inform people about local races because
Yeah.
unless, and I don't want to get in trouble here, we have some local reps and local senators that are louder than others and maybe do and say things that are a little bit more out there, out of the norm. And those are the ones that people know.
Right.
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 So those are the ones that are going to make the news because this one said this and he said this and she believes that. And this one fought,
Right.
stood up in leg hall and did a handstand because they wanted to prove something, like whatever. But if it's just plain Jim and Jane, like,
Yeah.
go, like it's not even going to make the news. And then therefore you're not even going to know, if you're not well versed in it, that you have
Right.
a local election for your school. I mean, don't even talk about school board, but
Oh my goodness.
like those types of things. So that's really hard from a news perspective to get you to care about something like that.
Hmm. So what I hear you saying is that it's our own personal responsibility to.
I feel like it
That's what I
is.
feel like I hear you saying.
I feel like it is. And I know that's boring. And I know it sounds like that's your job to do, but I feel like
Yes,
it is.
I want you to take responsibility, Matt. I want
Right. I know.
you to tell me that it is your fault that we are living in this climate.
Tonight at 6, Autumn, your local election is right.
I want you to be accountable. No,
Right.
I mean,
I
but that's the thing, though. Quite honestly, you see so much about people being like the media, the media, the media, the media, and you don't really see anybody saying the people.
right. Right. So I don't want to call any of my lovely students out, but listen, so the beauty and why I love teaching at a community college level is I get students 17, 18, 19 right out of high school,
Yeah.
all the way up to early 60s who are going back and changing their career, or they've retired from something and they're going back and they want to do something different, right?
Yeah.
And 90% of them, Autumn, don't know what's going on nationally or locally.
Wow.
So I pretend to have a heart attack in class to get their attention. I lay down on the floor and I'm like, you guys are killing me. And they laugh and they think I'm crazy. But I have to get their attention somehow and to make them count and to make them account. So, I have to make homework assignments that are like, you need
Yeah.
to look at who's your local rep. Tell me about a bill that interests you. Look it up. They
Right.
have no idea where to look. And you and I are actually in the minority.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know what I really think sort of what that is that and this is Gary getting into a whole nother can of worms. We're not gonna do it, but also we're gonna do it for just a second. I really think that this speaks to education or the educational system, because I think that the way that you were taught information was taught in a way that was intended to make you critically think. It wasn't spoon fed to you. You had to dig for it. You had to
Right.
go look for it. You had to think it through. You had to come up with an idea, a perspective, a thought, and then you had to like sort of justify it. It wasn't enough for you to have the thought. It was like, now you got to explain it.
Right.
And so that developed like an ability to sort of methodically look through information and then be able to communicate it to someone else, communicate a thought to someone else. And I think that that's like sort of missing. I also think that there was more of an emphasis on civic engagement when we were young. So,
Mhm.
whether it was like, as a class or as a group, we kind of like, we have to vote on things. There was a demo, you know what I mean? Just like this idea of getting involved and being just sort of civically minded, and which ties to being community minded. And now we're in this age again of very just individualized, very, capitalist. I'm just trying to get this money.
Yeah.
Where does community fit into? I'm just trying to get this money, right? Which very much steers us away from civic minded, critical thinking, kind of things. And so I just think that they don't know how to think. That's
Do
a
you
terrible
think?
thing to say. And when I say they don't know how to, what I'm saying, like the skill set. That's what I'm
Right.
saying. Yeah.
So what comes to my mind when you're saying that? It's something just popped in my head. Like, do you think like, I mean, you and I were probably raised where like it was, I don't want to say safer, but
Yeah.
like I played outside, went to the park with my
Yeah.
friends, rode my bike, came
Right.
home when like knew it
We
was
were
dinner
born in
time
the
or something.
1900s.
But now don't want your child to go outside.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like that's like brings the whole like helicopter parent in, and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
so entrenched in your own world that the
Right.
worldly part isn't
Yes.
out there.
Yes. That's very good. Yes. From a very early age, creating this echo chamber.
Right.
Uh,
Yes,
because,
exactly.
yeah,
Like
because
from birth now.
right, from the incubator, you're
Right.
to
Yeah.
go from one womb to the next one.
Right. Exactly.
Terrible.
But it's
You're
the
not,
truth.
but you're not wrong. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I mean that is a good point. You're not outside engaging with the other neighborhood kids who are
Right.
living very different lives and hearing how you guys both had a day, right? You both
Right.
just experienced the same 24 hours, but
Yeah.
your experiences in that 24 hours were very different. And both of them were real and valid, even though they were different. And that's the part too that we need to get away from. That's one of the things that I personally, and you can tell me what you think, the news does not do a good job at is encouraging the idea or perspective that different doesn't mean bad. Different just
Absolutely.
means different, right? And so it's this, but it feels like the news is presented like this thing happened and it's different from that,
So
and
that's
this
it.
is bad and
Yep.
this is good,
Yep.
right?
And
Yeah,
my way of thinking is the right way.
right, right.
Yeah, right. And again, I go back to CNN and Fox. You're going to watch the one that more aligns with how you think or how you were raised. So I think that has a lot to do with it. So to me, that's entertainment. It's not even news anymore,
Exactly.
to be
So we're just
honest.
watching a bunch of entertainment and not
Right,
news. That makes me sad. So,
right.
okay, I want you to give me some tips on this
Mm.
or what you do. I have gotten to where I have just really like stopped for my own mental and emotional well-being, stopped watching news cycles.
Oh God,
Because no, I know you're gonna be
you're
sad. Look,
hurting me.
I know, but let me just okay, before
Go grab my Xanax from the
yes, and
cabinet.
kick me to the curb. Because I think that, fear mongering is a thing.
Yeah,
And I think that there's a lot of that's going on, right? The sky is always falling.
always right.
And so I just can't be in a news cycle of the sky is always falling. I got to dip in and I got to dip out. I'm like in, let me kind
Yeah,
of boom, and then I got to get out. I cannot sit and watch this on repeat every single breaking moment because it's just like doomsday prepping.
yeah,
So my question is in a world where we are overwhelmed. I mean, like literally these cycles are non-stop.
yeah.
How to navigate getting information without it affecting your home, because I know people, and I'm sure you do too, that are legitimately having anxiety and like just all of the things.
Right.
We can't be living like that.
No, I mean, so are you saying that you do have to turn it off every once in a while? Is that what you're
I
saying?
do. I
Yeah.
do.
And
Yeah.
honestly, you're the healthier of us two. I don't shut it off. And I'm filled with anxiety and make sure I have my 90-day refill of my Xanax. So you're the much healthier one. I'll be honest with you, because that's the only way to tune it off. Because they're not going to tune it off.
Matt,
They're
why
not
are
going
you doing
to
this? You're supposed to be the resident expert.
I know. Because I feel like I got to be informed to let you know when you're ready to come back.
Okay,
But I
that's fair.
got you.
That's fair. All
When you're ready
right.
to come back,
Okay.
yeah, right.
You're
So
taking one for the team.
we're
Okay.
taking one for the team,
Oh my
exactly.
God, that's a heavy cross to
It's
carry.
okay.
Right.
That's it's a heavy cross, right? But yeah, I think it's you have to turn it off. You know,
Oh,
um I I think it's difficult to. So in my day job as a PR comms person, I have a social media specialist who is probably she's Gen Z, 2 3 years out of college.
yeah.
And she has taught me so much because I'm the type where the first time I started my job, I'm on the phone with IT. I have to have my email on my phone or else I'll die.
Not die.
Right. I'll just die. I have to have it on my phone. So I hire this young woman. She's super bright and 1 2 years out of college. And I'm like, so here's the instructions for your email on your phone. Here's where you can get
I'm not doing any of that.
the news feeds and stuff. And here, I'm sure you want to check it every hour, right? And she's like, am I going to get in trouble if I don't have all this on my phone and don't do this? I'm going to be a hard worker. And I was like, what? You don't fall asleep
No.
every night with your phone in your hand, worrying that like the the world is just going to end. And she's like, no, I find it much healthier if I don't. And I'm like, you know what? I was like, she's not going to work out.
Oh my God.
So, and can I tell you, she is the hardest working human being I have ever worked with in my life. Because she steps back. If I need her for something, I can call her, but she steps back on
Yeah.
the weekends and at nights and isn't falling asleep to her email like I am every night. And she's so much healthier,
I
physically
cannot
and
take
mentally.
you. Oh my God. Well, listen, then she's teaching you a lesson.
Right,
Lord
totally.
have
And I still
mercy.
haven't learned, and she's worked for me for 5 years, and I still haven't
Okay.
learned. Right.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm glad that you were smart enough to see that she was going to work out
Yes.
and that she's
Right.
good for you.
Yes.
And two, I think that yes, she needs to be
Teach
rubbing
me.
off on you a
Yes,
little bit
exactly.
here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, there's got to be boundaries. There's got to be
Has to be.
boundaries surrounding this information because it is so overwhelming. Like, I mean, I know people who are anxiety is an understatement
Yeah.
with the news cycle, and they're just, oh my God, they're coming to get us. And who is they? They are the they, and
Right.
they are coming to get. And it's just
It's
this.
so bad. Like, God, I share way too much. But here we go. I was like, so my therapist left the state, and I had to find a new one.
Okay.
And I can't even find one because all of America needs to have a therapist. I mean, right, and rightly so, because the world's crazy. So all these therapists have like wait lists that are months long. And I'm like, well, I really hope Bobby gets their life together so I can get in their spot.
Take
Yeah.
you. Oh my God. But facts.
Right. You know what I mean?
You're not wrong.
So now
Yeah.
I'm having to like call you to be my therapist. And I'm sure you has sometimes be like, Matt, stop calling me with your problems.
No, I love it. But hey, you're not wrong. We are medicated. We
Yeah.
are in
To the
there. Well, therapy
extreme.
is good. We're not
Yeah, I'm to the right.
Yeah, we're not, that's not a bad thing, but the need for it, yeah, absolutely, because
Right.
we are just truly in this fear mongering state
Yeah.
of being, and people are really struggling to be able to decipher. But again, I think that that goes back to not knowing how to do something. If you don't know how to decipher between what is and isn't, keep what's good, leave what's not, if you don't know how to do it, if you don't know how to perspective take,
Right.
then you feel like I'm just thinking about it and I'm going like, I can only imagine living in a world where you're getting bombarded with all this information, contradictory information, and you have no idea what's true and what's not, and you don't know how to figure out what's true and what's not.
Yeah.
You would feel like you're in a clown house, like
Right.
one of those, or fun house. You know what I'm talking about? Like you're walking through and everything is like all distorted and weird. Like that is how your mind is.
Hmm. I want to. So
Horrible.
you would ask me about like escaping, and I'm like, I don't. So one of the things that I do, and I'm stealing this from your interview with our girl Carrie Ann a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
She said something that really resonated with me,
Mhm.
and she's like an artist in all in all the ways.
Right.
But to me, to escape, will like go to the theater,
Nice.
because in the theater is one of the places where you are forced. I mean, you could
Yes.
leave, I guess, unless they didn't lock. That'd be weird. But like you're forced to be face to face with something for 2.5 hours,
Yeah.
and they're performing for you, and they're not, us
Yeah.
in the room, in the auditorium, whatever it may be. We're all taking in that message in our own individual way and playing it like how it reflects in our life.
Yeah.
And that to me is escaping, because we're escaping for that 2.5 hours, and just maybe, if you're open to it, changing your mindset or changing your thought process or your thought pattern on how something. And I feel like that for me is an escapism,
Wow.
because yeah, that's how I feel I can escape and turn my phone off and be educated, entertained,
Yeah.
be informed about something, to think a different way than maybe I have before.
So that's interesting because rare that you actually want to be faced with the hard, circumstance of having to sit with something and process it and think it through and figure
Right.
out, do I agree? Do I not? How does this play out? You know what I mean? That's really interesting because most people don't want to do
Right. Yeah.
they really just don't want to do that, which tying into such a bigger conversation speaks to sort of our grit as humans,
Yeah.
right now, like just the society right now, is that we struggle to be confronted with things that are uncomfortable. And so how much of the news is sort of, you talked about helicopter parents, how much of the news is really engaged in that kind of activity where they're like, this is this is all they can handle. Like they can only take sugar and spice. We
Right.
can't give them anything else. So
Right.
we're just
They're
like,
at Johnny's at his limit.
right, right. How much of it is that and how much of it is diabolical, sinister? I'm doing this to control the minds of the
Right.
people. No, that's a question. I'm actually asking you that.
I feel like God, this sounds awful. It's doom and gloom, but I feel like a lot of it is to control your mind.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of it is to control your mind.
Yeah.
Because we're in a world where the loudest voices get the attention.
Yeah.
And what I try to do as a communicator is listen to the whispers and then change that whisper into a movement
That's
or to
good.
take action on the
I
whisper.
love that. I love that.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Because a lot of
That's
times the loudest
so
people
good.
just want to be loud to be loud. Okay, fine, let them be loud. But then the people that are whispering, listen to those people because those are the people who are going to take action.
The silent majority. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
believe in that.
Absolutely. That's so good. That's so good. And I wish to that point that the silent majority had more of a platform and more of a voice because they're actually sort of the river that runs deep and steady and true and sort of centered. And these loud voices, to your point, are tend to be the extremes. But
Right.
now you have these extremes that have all of the platforms when most people don't even really think or feel that way.
And
But it's
aren't um the extreme ones aren't a lot of times they're just loud and they're not sensible.
right. Right.
Yeah, they're just loud to be loud and they're not being sensible. So, yeah.
So let's talk about that. You said something there. So that kind of leads into sort of cancel culture.
Mhm.
And I'm just interested in what your thoughts are on cancel culture because to your point, right? Like so you have these loud voices that are completely not sensible, right?
Right.
Like they are just talking, they're saying all the things,
Right.
okay? With no boundaries, no love, like just all the things. And then you have people who are trying to say things that are sensible, things that are not always feel good, but they're sent like, hey, like, come on,
Right.
man, you gotta, like, you know what I mean? They're really trying to bring it to new. And those people are on the chopping block for being canceled.
Right. Do you remember when a mutual friend of ours and I asked you to lunch because we
Yes,
sort of felt this way
yes,
about this.
yes, yes,
So we that was a time where I felt super uncomfortable and I
yeah,
needed someone to ask about how and I mean, I can be open and honest about it. So there was a discussion in a class that you and I were in
yeah,
about particularly how white men don't speak up
yeah,
enough when it
yeah,
comes to things, whether it's you know gender, sexuality, or race issues, because
yeah,
we don't know where we should stand. Because a lot
yeah,
of times, if we have a voice and we are, a lot of times it's you don't know what I'm going through
right,
on
right,
this side. But
right,
if you don't speak up against it, you're being complacent and agreeing with the bad side.
yeah,
So this mutual friend and I asked you to go to lunch with us, and we asked you, I remember that to this day, what should we do? Because we're good guys.
yeah,
We try to be. And,
yeah,
we're like, and, we both value our friendship in you, where we felt comfortable enough to go
yeah,
to you, Autumn, and be like, help us through this because we want to be an ally, but we don't also want to be like fake and be
yeah,
like, we know what you're going through when we don't. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So, and your answer, I don't know if you remember this or not, but your answer to us, and I'm paraphrasing,
okay,
was whoever's going through something, let them speak, let them have their moment, hear them, and then absorb what you can do, and maybe just like we did, like, what can we do to help? What do you want from us? But let
Yeah.
people have their voice. Don't challenge it, maybe,
Hmm.
whether you agree with it or disagree with it. But
Hmm.
just kind of sit in it and let them know that you're there, even
Yeah.
just being there and present. But that was really helpful to me and our mutual friend, and we still talk about that to this day. That really helped us. So to your credit, that was, and I hope that answers your question in a way as far as cancel culture.
But okay, so to that point, so let's to give more context to this conversation. First, I just want to make it clear, like, not that you're going to get canceled, but just for the clarity's sake, is that the topic was introduced by me. I brought up to the room, it was this environment where it felt like only certain individuals were having an opportunity to have a perspective or to speak or to give an opinion about things. And then other people did not, were, or just, or, I shouldn't say didn't have the opportunity, they just weren't. And so the question that I presented was, hey, my white friends,
Yeah. Right. Right.
hey, my white friends that are here, is there any reason that you're not speaking up or saying anything or not having an opinion or a thought or like a what? Like, what's going on here?
Right.
Um, and everybody sort of silently stood staring at each other. I'm like, hey, listen, like
Yeah.
if room is not being made for you to speak up, like we need to talk about that because that's we need all the voices in the room.
Right.
So when when we had that conversation, I think and that's the part about being sensible. So and going to cancel culture. That I get it that if which is why and let me say this, which was why I think it's important for people to speak. So if the two of you had spoken up and said, hey, like we have a thought and we have a feeling that doesn't align with what everybody else is saying, and da da da, you guys would have been canceled. Right. But if I stand up and say, hey, there's room for you and I want you to speak. And then for you to, for us to have that dialogue. Okay. Now you guys go, okay, cool. Oh, it's okay. It's cool for me to speak. Okay, cool. Now we want to know, like, how do we navigate that? Like, how do we do that where we can be heard, where we can be respectful of what other people are saying? Like, what does that look like? And then we can have meaningful conversation. And that's the thing, right? People need to know that it's I'm going to be heard, you're going to be heard so that we can truly be honest and have meaningful conversation that we both walk away feeling validated and feeling like we have come to some sort of mutual space where that we can both like live in and feel good about, right?
Right.
But
Right.
it feels like we're in this place where if you don't agree with me, you're a
You're
bad
against me.
person.
Right.
Yeah, yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yes.
You're either with me or against me, and sometimes you are in between. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So.
And listen, also sometimes I am 1,000% with you, but
Mhm.
I'm not with what you're doing or what you think about that thing. That doesn't mean I'm
Yeah.
against you.
That doesn't discredit your friendship or your relationship with that person.
Right.
Right. That's a
we
thought.
gotta communicate
Yeah.
better. So to that point, personal communication, step away from media for a second and just talk
Yeah.
about human communication,
Right.
how to navigate those difficult, right? And you're dealing with difficult topics in the news,
Hmm.
right? So
Hmm.
now take that to a personal, like, how are you navigating those conversations
Yeah.
in your personal life?
So in personal, again, being super candid, um, I come from my dad's side is complete law enforcement,
Hmm.
a bunch of retired police officers. I broke that to go work in TV. So, and then my mom's side, the other side that I was raised with, it tends to be more on the Democratic side, right? So I was really raised with hearing both things. And it bring me very much the middle ground. But to be able to have those personal relationships with people and to be able to communicate effectively, I've really learned, and it's been really hard for me as someone who grew up with a mom with a disability. I would always want to, when I saw someone struggling to get a word out or struggling to communicate, I would
Mm.
automatically want to jump in and talk for you because I don't want to see you struggle.
Oh my
But
goodness.
really,
Okay.
what I was doing, and I didn't learn this until college, I'm actually hindering you
Yeah.
by doing that. And
Yeah.
that's super, super difficult for me because now I have to just watch this person get it out.
Yeah.
It's important for them to do that. So
Right.
what that would carry over into other relationships where you would be talking, Autumn, and then I would unintentionally speak over you because I'm just in my brain, I'm helping you get it out. But it
Gotcha.
could absolutely come across as me being like, I don't say mansplaining, but me talking over you
Right.
to
Right.
get that my view or my point is more important when that's totally
Right.
not it. I'm trying to help. So people have I was at a job once. I was working at a job like at a call center in college, and I was talking, where they rate your calls and they're recording the calls, and I would get in so much trouble and I would get dinged for it because I would be over talking the
Yeah.
customer. So I really had to parlay that into my personal life and be like, I
Okay.
really need to take a step back and let this person talk and listen, not
Mhm.
just hear so I can say the next thing that I think I need to say, but to
Yeah.
actually listen and let it absorb is, I know that sounds super elementary, but
No.
that's really difficult for me.
Yeah. It's not just you, friend.
Mm,
That's difficult, I think, for everyone.
yeah.
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 Yeah. For different reasons, but it's difficult for everyone.
Yeah. So I'm still a work in process, but that is one difficult thing to learn and be quite frank, especially in partnerships that I've had and currently
Yeah.
have, to be able to, I'm a fixer.
Yeah.
So I am someone who will talk a topic to death and I want to put it to bed
Yeah.
and to make sure that everything is resolved and neatly tied into a bow. Well, life isn't like that. You can't just tie everything into a bow, right? And
If
then,
only.
right. So my significant other, completely the opposite, does not want to talk about stuff.
Yeah.
So that's really difficult for a
So
communicator.
so how are you communicating? Like, right, because again, you're talking about, you know, news that's happening across the country, the world,
Yeah.
and what's happening locally. Like you got a lot to say. Like,
Right. I get a lot of times,
right? You got a lot of information, and I'm assuming you have opinions about it too.
yeah.
Okay, so for you who wants to talk and say all the things, and you got all this information and all these feelings, how are you navigating those spaces, and even navigating those spaces with people who maybe have some very strong opinions that are not similar
Right.
to yours in your personal space? How are you?
So it's super tough because I don't shut off the news and try to be informed.
Yeah.
And I do find a lot of times that if I don't want to poke holes or someone's like, I think this, and this is happening in the world. And I'm like, oh, actually, you don't have the full picture. Let me paint that for you. I
Mm.
really had to stop doing that because
Yeah.
the way that you see things are valid.
Right,
And
right,
I can't tell you what you believe or how to side with something.
right.
Like if that's how you are, I'm big, this is so cheesy, but meeting someone where they are is
Yeah.
totally, I have to
It's
live.
easy.
Yeah, I totally live by that.
But the question is it hard? I find it very difficult to meet people where they
So
are.
hard. Oh my God. Yeah. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating.
I'm
Yeah.
like, can you come up already? No, I'm kidding
Right.
about it
Right.
too.
Yeah, exactly. It's really, really hard. It's difficult.
Oh my God, because at the same time, somebody's saying that about me. Like, so that's right. Like, we're all in that boat. But no, that's really good, actually, Matt. I'm glad that you said that. That's a lesson for me. So see, look, I told you, I get things out of these conversations too. It's this idea of not feeling like I have to explain or give you more, no.
Right. Right.
Okay, let me just meet you where you are. So
And we want to, feel like we are informed people. You and I are people that want to make a change in our
yeah,
communities,
yeah,
right? So we try to, learn as much as we can. I feel like we're like sponges and we try to
yeah.
absorb as much as we can. Some people don't want to be sponges. Some people want to be rocks.
This is the truth.
You know what I mean?
Let them.
Right. Let them. Let them. Let them. Yeah.
Let them be rocks. Let them be rocks.
There are days where I want to be a rock. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, we all do.
Right.
Trust me.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Or certain topics that we want to be rocks about.
Right. Exactly.
And that's fine too. And we gotta let people be okay with that too. A lot of that has to do with if it's tied to like your identity.
Yeah.
right? It's really difficult to be challenged in places that you have wrapped your identity around, because now it's not only you're saying that something's wrong with this thing, you're saying something's wrong with me. And I
Right.
think that's where
That's
people,
hard.
yeah, that's
Right.
really hard. And so I think the piece about meeting people where they are is understanding that, having understanding and grace that people are not stupid, that
Right.
people are not just being obtuse for the sake of being obtuse, but that sometimes when you're challenging what they think or what they feel or how they perceive a social issue or whatever, like you're literally challenging their identity, how
Yeah.
they, their family, how they grew up, their values, what they know about themselves, all those things. And that can be really hard, and especially by a stranger, which brings me to this last question before we get to my last question
Hit me with it.
is how much of the ability for people to receive like news or truth or information has to do with trust, do you think? Like, yeah,
110%.
trust. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Listen,
okay,
like,
so how do you get people to trust you as a news anchor? Like, as you, people that may have never met you, how are
yeah,
you getting them to trust you?
man, you are asking the tough questions. Um, I try to be, and I am, like, I just try to show my personality, like, try to be as relatable as possible. I'm nobody special.
Yeah.
Like, we're all
I mean, you're
special,
special to
whatever.
me, but
Oh, thank you. But, I'm nobody special. Like, I'm your neighbor.
yeah,
And it's like a privilege and a huge responsibility for you to trust me and for you to see me out when I'm cutting my lawn, and for you to be like, hey Matt, I get this all the time. Hey Matt, like I saw this happen, like in case you want a story, yada yada, like it happens all the time. I'm like, can I just finish cutting my lawn? um but that is a testament to me that people
yeah,
do trust what I'm
yeah,
saying. And again, how do you build trust? Like, not shouting, being the
yeah.
whisperer.
Mm,
It is big for me. I'm never a shouter. Like, I'm
yeah,
definitely like the whisperer. So like to be able to, and, I am also a person who, like we had said a couple minutes ago, like if I've, you have to be humble enough to know that you're not perfect and you don't know
mm.
everything.
Right, right.
So for me to be like, I don't know this enough. Can you educate me? And people are really like, you're the newsman. Shouldn't you know? No, I don't.
Everybody doesn't know everything. Like, well, I mean, what I hear you saying is be curious.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I wish more people were curious about themselves, each other, the world,
And
ideas.
I think another level of trust, Autumn, is being active in your community, whatever your community looks
Mm,
like.
yeah,
Being out in your community and being visible. My community is
right,
arts, disability advocacy,
right,
neighborhood safety. That's my community. That's where I
right,
feel comfortable and can have my voice.
right,
And your community, everybody has their different community.
right.
And I think that when people see you out there and be like, okay, yeah, he has a passion for this. Like I feel that passion, then that passion
Yeah.
I'm trying to trust.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I also think, you know how I feel about the Bible. Like it always works its way into everything, but that there's a scripture that very much talks about the things that come out of your mouth is from the abundance of your heart.
Right.
And so speaking to what you are saying is that when something is true and real and authentic for you, that's in your heart, it can't help but overflow out of your mouth and your
Right.
actions and the things that you do. And people can feel that. They can feel that authenticity and they can feel that sincerity
Yeah.
of the things that you are saying that you're doing. And that absolutely builds trust. So, yeah, when things are real to you,
And you
totally.
can't fake that authenticity.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I mean? Because
yeah.
people can smell from. I mean, you
Right.
can smell from a mile away if you're faking nothing. Yeah, there's
Right.
right.
um, so thank you
Thank
for
you.
this
This has been a blast.
amazing conversation. Yes, it's been so good. I'm so glad that we got a chance to do it.
Yeah.
You'll have to come back.
Oh,
I absolutely appreciate it, and thank you for taking time out to come and have this conversation that I think is so relevant and timely and just necessary. We just have to start having more conversations about truth and communication and the responsibility around it, especially when you're on a platform, right? And we talked about news, but I mean, everybody's got a platform. If you got
sure.
social media and you have
Yeah.
friends or followers, you have a platform. So
Right.
we all have a level of responsibility there. But
And I what can I give you a plug real quick? I want to tell you that you and I over a year ago were meeting, I think it was for coffee or something. You were like, I want to do this podcast. And I just want to tell people that this wasn't like you had put so much thought into what you want to do and you were so intentional about
yeah,
the topics that you wanted to talk about and whatever it may be, leadership,
yeah,
spirituality, changing your way of thinking.
yeah,
You were so intentional about it that when I saw that you were, put this into fruition, this wasn't something that you were just like, so many other people are like, I'm going to do a podcast, I'm going to do this, and they just flip on their camera on their phone. You, Autumn, were so intentional about this. You were talking about this with me at least over a year ago.
yeah. Oh,
So I know I can attest to how much work that you've put into this, and it really shows. So kudos to you. I'm so proud of you.
thank you so much. I love that. Thank you. I appreciate it. I told you this is the only reason you said you can't get in to see a therapist. That's why I started a podcast.
I love it.
So
I love it.
people can come and just give me affirmation, just nonstop, this
Yes.
every week.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I
So
don't need a therapist. I have friends who just tell me how amazing I am.
I love it. But no,
No,
the purpose and intentionality shows. So hats off to you, my friend.
thank you. I love you. Thank you for that. But
Yeah.
before we end this thing, I gotta ask you because I ask everybody.
Oh boy.
Okay, you're one. I know you've had lots of.
Yes.
Okay, but what is the most life changing piece of advice you have ever been given? I know,
I got to think this is hard.
right?
I should have cheated and knew at the end that
You should
you
have
asked
cheated because
everyone
you're
this.
great.
Yeah. The life changing. My grandmother would tell me, don't look behind you because you're not going there anymore.
Okay, grandmas are smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I am used to be, I'm working on a huge dweller.
Mm.
And I've had to learn that worrying is wasteful.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Completely wasteful.
You're
It
not
does nothing
going
but
anywhere.
make you feel
Yeah.
bad.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
You can take the lessons from it, but you got to keep moving forward. And I've spent
absolutely.
so much time, you can't be stuck in neutral. And I've spent so much time in neutral, I can't even tell you.
Mm.
So being able to go ahead and don't look back because you're not going back there.
You're not going back there. You can't. Even if
Right.
you wanted to, you
Right.
can't.
Yeah.
Oh, grandma, she's so good. She's smart, wise.
Yeah. Wise. Wise
Wise.
old Al, man. I know.
That's man. That's gonna start a whole nother thing. I want to say that too. Like talking about communication. We
Yeah.
need to be better at talking to our elderly because they
Yes.
are
They
so
know it.
oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh. They are so full of knowledge and wisdom and information and perspective and all the things. And we're like, oh, you're old, you don't know. And it's like, are you kidding me right now?
They've been through it.
Yo, they could save your life.
Right. Yes.
Legitimately save your life if you would
Right.
just have a conversation.
Right.
Mm.
And the stuff that we think is important, they're like, no, that's not, this is the stuff that's important. You have it wrong.
That they didn't live through it. They're like,
Right.
oh yeah, you wasting your time with that. You're gonna
Right.
figure
Exactly. Yeah.
this means nothing.
Totally.
Yeah, we need the elderly. That was good advice. I love that, Grandma. Don't look in
Right.
the mirror. You
You're not
can't.
going there.
You're
Right.
not going there. Don't
Right.
look back. You're not going there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. I
Thank you.
hope that you all got something out of this. Take what sticks with you, leave what doesn't. And let's make a commitment to communicating truthfully more often. Let's make a commitment to being more intentional about critically thinking our way through information that is being presented to us. And by all means, unlike Matt, let's make a commitment to setting boundaries on how much information we take in so that we can stay healthy.
Learn from me. Learn.
Yes, let's learn. There's always a lesson everywhere. There's
Always.
always a lesson. Um, see you all next week. Have an amazing week. Love you. Bye.